I'd like you to throw out any preconceived notions you might have about affordable housing and what that might mean. There are lots of people who would love to call Canton home, who do amazing things in our community, who can't afford to live here. We would love to find a way for our teachers, for our first responders, for new graduates, whether it's high school or college, to be able to afford to live in Canton. We have been so blessed in this community to have seen such tremendous growth. But the reality, once again, is that there are people who want to call Canton home who cannot afford to live here. And this is what the Canton Housing team has been brought together to try to help address.
So my parents actually moved here when I was still in elementary school, so this is pretty much the only place I remember living, and I loved it. They were two teachers. Here was the perfect place for them to not only find a piece of the world that really felt beautiful and private, where they could have a gorgeous home to raise their kids, but also where their money would go a little bit further than where they lived in Cobb County before. The home that they bought for $175,000, I actually sold it earlier this year for $450,000. If that doesn't tell you how much the reality of the situation has changed, I don't know what does. And you know, I loved growing up here, so when I work with first-time home buyers and I have to tell them, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to find you something in Cherokee County that is safe and good to move into, that breaks my heart. Even right now, I have a single teacher who is looking for a place. She and her fiance, they're engaged, but their income level is only qualifying them up for $250,000, and they can't find anything. I think the closest thing that I've found is a 1915 home in Cartersville, Georgia, so even that is sending them an incredibly far distance from where she works here in Cherokee County and where she wants to be. Her family lives around here. She would love to call Cherokee County home, she and her fiance would, but at this point it's just not possible, because for under $250,000, you can't even afford a mobile home here right now. Most of those are going for around $300,000, $310,000, or you might be able to find a home that is partially burned down. I mean, that's the reality of what we're looking at here in Cherokee County.
So it's information like that that should really stop us in our tracks and get us to think about what can we do to help this community be able to provide housing for the people who are really the backbone of what this community is all about. And I think that all of us would love to be able to say that we have neighbors who are teachers and you senior citizens on fixed income and first responders. But right now the reality is that that's few and far between.
I grew up in Hickory Flat, and it was during the 60s and the early 70s, and I always described it as Camelot. There was nothing ever that went bad that I ever knew of. My parents might have shielded me from it, but all we did was play, go to school, and play some more. My main career was with AT&T, got outsourced to IBM. I was a project manager. When we got outsourced to IBM, they said that we were hand-selected for this project team, and when layoffs were abound, and that when these layoffs were coming that we all knew about, that this project team, none of us would be laid off because we had been hand-selected. The entire group got cut, even my manager. It was terrible. I laid in front of the fireplace and was devastated. It hit my ego and my pocketbook and everything else. I moved into an apartment, and it was a cute apartment. It was a small one-bedroom, but I looked out over the woods, and I was very happy there because I did not have to cut any grass. I did not have to worry about the heater or the roof. And even though it was small, I enjoyed it because I wasn't there a lot. But one day, I was driving home from work, a little part-time job that I had, and my neighbor said, she called me and she said, "You're not going to believe this. I just got my rental notice for signing up for next year, and my rent is going up $300. I was like, "You've got to be kidding me." So I walked over to her apartment because I thought something about this is not right. And I looked at the paperwork and I was like, oh, this is right. And then it was time for me to renew my lease. And I went to the office, and I had never had to pay more than $30, $35 when I had renewed my lease. And mine was going to be a little over $300. I was able to find another solution, and it has worked out very well for me, but my friends did not. And every time a new month comes around, I worry about them. And I wonder how they're doing. And I always think about the families that were there. My friends were single, but I did know people that had young children, and I always think about them, and it makes me sad. So these type of prices are not only affecting folks like me, senior citizens, but they're also affecting our young folks. I have a son that's 30, and he has just recently got an apartment on his own, and like mine is very nice, but it's just a small cracker box apartment, and he pays $1,700 a month. Having grown up in Cherokee County and loving Canton the way I do, my hope would be that there will be a solution with housing so that everyone, young and old, can call Canton home.
The point of this video and sharing stories is to make this real and personal, to let you know that there are real people with real stories, people who would love to call Canton home, who can't afford to call Canton home. And the Canton Housing team has been formed with a very diverse group of people to try to be a part of solving this problem. And so please know that we are here. We want to invite you into the discussion and into this journey, because everyone deserves to have a place to call home, and especially those who would love to live here in Canton and be our neighbors.